Hello there campers, my name is Paul Hughes, I am the Lord of Leisure, and welcome to another Aftermath video, which sadly is once again recorded in my front room, simply because it was raining outside the Prince Charles cinema tonight, so pretty much instead of like drowning and going yeah and all the rest of it, I decided to come home and do this video almost immediately, because rather than sleep on what I just witnessed tonight, I figured, yeah, it's still going to need pretty much a reaction video on it. Tonight's Aftermath video, obviously tonight at the time of recording, is Best Friends Volume 2. Yes, it is the sequel, or rather part 2, of Best Friends, from the mind of Greg Sestero, whose name I'm trying to say correctly this time, rather than what I did in Best Friends Volume 1. Sorry, Greg. And of course, bringing back Tommy Wiseau of the Epic Room. Just, yeah. But suffice to say that since last year, when it was discovered that this was going to be a two-parter and everything else, yeah, I have been absolutely waiting for it. And in essence, this is one of the first times we've been able to see in a cinema, effectively. I'm not sure if this is the final product before release this time, or it's still another cut that's still a work in progress. I'll just go with what I saw tonight. And look, before I go any further, yes, I have a bit of bias because I love these guys and everything they do. So therefore, of course, take everything I say with a pinch of salt when I give you my thoughts and feelings about Best Friends Volume 2, and perhaps also Best Friends overall, now that Volume 1 and 2, I've seen both together. So for those of you who haven't seen Best Friends Volume 1, or indeed not even had a look at the review that I did for it last year, Best Friends is around Greg Sestero's character, in essence, coming off rather badly, wandering around. He's kind of homeless, and Tommy Wiseau's character, Harvey, who is a mortician, it takes him in, they develop friendship, they start selling gold teeth for lots of money, then one thing leads to another, and it all gets spiraling out of control, where it looks like that Tommy's character is not entirely all there, although, yeah. And so, at the end of Volume 1, we're left pretty much on a cliffhanger. A cliff is definitely involved in this, as well as Tommy Wiseau pretty much goes, or at least you think so, because pretty much then there's a trailer for Volume 2 where shall we say, John, Greg Sestero's character, I should have remembered, John, yes, starts to get, I think, haunted by Tommy Wiseau, which admittedly in itself could be potentially a horrifying situation, depending on what's going on, I know, but it pretty much sets itself up for a WTF of a Part 2. And Part 2 effectively follows on directly after what happens from Part 1. Absolutely. In fact, there's like a previously on the friendship thing as it opens up. And it shows you a couple of the key moments that went on, accompanied by trademark Tommy Wiseau laugh. It's just, yeah, you go, looking forward to it. But effectively then, John and his girlfriend go on the run with an ATM that was in Tommy Wiseau's garage, which again is a whole load of, in itself. It's sort of hard. I'm wanting to describe some things that happen versus... I'm going to try and keep it generic, yet also give... It's going to be a hard balance for this one, absolutely. But it goes on pretty quick. into effectively John and his girlfriend going on the run with the ATM and heading towards Colorado, away from all the treachery and deceit that has gone on in Los Angeles. Along the way, they get stopped. They have to go to a hotel which is run by a very, very strange man who, acts very strangely, and just a throwaway line that he has, he just casually throws in. Again, it catches you off guard. And actually, maybe that's probably the best way I should be describing this as well. The film, overall, again, even from part one, catches you off guard, because I have to be honest, that genuinely, you're not entirely sure what the hell to expect. I mean, there is a lot more, especially in the opening 30 minutes or so. It's a lot more somber. The weirdness is just sort of bits here and there, but it's a lot more just, it's more straightly played in some respects. It doesn't seem anything, in a strange sort of way, where part one was leading up to a crazy conclusion, where just like it was getting, in essence, funnier as time goes on. Part two really simmers that down. It takes that away. It's more weird with a couple of chuckle moments here and there, but overall it's played much more straight. And again, I'm still not sure whether or not that's done on purpose or not, to lull you into a false sense of security. If so, fair play, because I definitely was lulled into a false sense of security. But I have to be brutally honest. There is one standout character that borderline steals the show more than when Tommy's in it. Tommy Wiseau is not going to be in this as much as you would think. In fact, it's Uncle Rick, the girlfriend's uncle, who turns up out of nowhere and pretty much helps them, but he's just so sexually explicit at times with some of the shit he says, especially when you man up and your balls are gonna grow bigger. There's some parts so you just go, what the fuck are you on, and can I have some? Because it's just too much. And in a strange sort of way, Greg Sestero's character John, he doesn't say much or otherwise. He's still, in essence, I get the impression that he is just, I know he wrote the script and everything else, but there are times when I get the idea that Greg Sestero has no idea what the fuck's going on either. So it's just like we're on this stupid ass ride, and we're not entirely sure what's going to go on. And it just keeps going in there. There's seldom few characters more introduced. So it's again a kind of a tight-knit thing, and again you can understand for budgeting and what they were trying to do. Although they do have some excellent shots later on in the film where they're filming out against a rocky backdrop. It's just, some of it's absolutely gorgeous filming. I'm guessing they used a drone or something like that. But absolutely, it kind of elevated it in some respects, which was kind of an unexpected bonus. There were a few nice shots in this film, I have to be honest, using the effectively the American landscape in some respects, where you can see some parts of like just the open desert, as it were, to then a nice quiet little town. That kind of was surprising. There were also definitely some twists and turns, some of which, make no mistake, there are twists and turns that there are no fucking way in hell you see coming with part two. I certainly didn't. And even then, even when it does sort of make sense, but there's still going to be a couple of bits which are just, huh? Just, how? Just how? It's just... it's... I'm trying to think of the most polite way of putting this. Well, it's sort of... I'm glad that they made this whole thing such as it is, because it's a compelling clusterfuck. That's perhaps the best way to think about it, because you get basically hooked in with Volume 1, and then Volume 2, no matter what happens, you just want to see what happens. Especially with what happens. Are they actually going to get into the ATM at all? Because there's a huge amount of the film just dedicated to finding someone who can break into Tommy Wiseau's ATM safe. Yeah, seriously, just going around town and trying to find, apparently a strange old fellow with a really big beard to come along, who then insists on $20,000, and then calls up his happy friend, who goes crazy, and then there's possibly some context for that, but again, it's putting two and two together. It did take me a little time, because again, it just sort of like happened, and then it just, yeah, it Best Friends Volume 1 and 2, it's absolutely, I can't put it any better way than a compelling clusterfuck. Because there's some parts actual drama that you go, oh, okay, I see, and then there's a huge amount of weirdness to it, which is absolutely, it has to be on purpose. Music, actually, in Volume 2, in Volume 1 I remarked on the thing, there was some of that in Volume 2, but actually there was, because there was a change of tone, and therefore there was some quiet melodic piano at times, which then actually did make sense with some of the scenes going on. So that I was happy with that. Actually, I've got to say, listen to me. I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. Nah, absolutely not. And how things wrap up. It's a lot of work, and I dare say that I cannot believe that there's a couple of plot holes that I think is there, or I could have been that dense, or I missed things, because it just, the way that certain things arrive on the scene is just a moment. And I will say, Volume 2, there aren't as many laugh out loud moments like with Volume 1 did genuinely have. I mean, again, intentional, not intentional, it is one of those strange things, you could argue. And certainly, whatever. It is certainly strange. Make no mistake, it is absolutely strange. But overall, there were some good moments, and actually there were some monologues by Tommy Wiseau that I kind of get where the character was coming from. Harvey, yes, I know, it's just, it turned out he was just doing things, and he was just, again, it makes sense, and yet somehow it's a really fucked up way to go around things, and also how potentially, is certainly how Tommy Wiseau survives the ending of Best Friends Part 1 is, huh? Again, I'm sorry. I get it. It is sort of a general mishmash of different things, but somehow I was with it. There were some slow parts to this, and that's where potentially some attention could drift off. Despite what was happening on screen, there was a lot of setting of tone and things like with various scenes, so therefore there were points where you could go, yeah, twiddle the thumbs and so on. But overall, I was with it till the end. And even just the end, there was a, and it's kind of like a thought now of what could be after everything else that happened. And just seriously, how it somehow meshes together to form an incoherent, coherent narrative. It's a fucking contradiction, and yet somehow it worked. Don't get me wrong. It's never ever going to be the likes of Shakespeare's or at the Oscars or any of that shit. But I tell you what, I would watch this again and a lot of other crap that comes out at the cinema, frankly. Still, and again, I know I said about my bias and so on, but I am very, very happy that I saw Best Friends Volume 2. And I suspect if you're a fan of Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau anyway, yeah, you're going to be watching this. Apparently when it comes out properly in January, Best Friends Volume 1 comes out on digital towards the end of September on iTunes. I asked, actually, on the Twitter feed about whether or not there'll be other platforms. There may be an announcement at other points. And whether or not it doesn't have a cinema release outside of the Prince Charles in the UK or anywhere else in the world, possibly at various different things where they go around the world showing the stuff off. I kind of hope so. I mean, it's going to take a certain type of mindset to watch this. And again, look, I get that this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And in fact, like I said, it's a weird clusterfuck that somehow is coherent and not coherent. And I gotta be honest, it's a style now. It's absolutely a style. And somehow with me it works. With plenty of others it works. So, in terms of how I feel about it, would I recommend seeing Best Friends... I'd tell you what, overall, Best Friends Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1 absolutely was a must-see, and because of that, Volume 2, thus, to finish the story, absolutely you've got to see it, because there's no way you can just leave it on the cliffhanger of Volume 1 and not watch Volume 2 to get to the conclusion, as potentially loopy as it is. There are definitely some funny moments where it's trying to toe the line between bad and then elevating and then deep. I get it. I do get it. But in a strange sort of way, of the two parts, I would actually say Volume 1 was better. Certainly they were doing a lot more editing and so forth. So it was kind of, with Volume 1, seeing more the process, and the final cut of Volume 1 when I saw it was a lot tighter and maybe, it was snappier in a sense. Volume 2 lost a bit of that snappiness and things did drag out a little, but overall, I perhaps against my better judgment, go and watch Best Friends, both volumes. Perhaps not at the same time all at once, because it could be too much of a headfuck all at once. But yeah, if you can, actually take the time and go and watch it. If nothing else, it's an experience that you will talk about longer than an awful lot of other films. And frankly, that's a hell of a thing going for it, as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? All credit to them. They should absolutely have some applause for this. They've done a lot better than a lot of other people. That's what I can say. And although, and I've had a couple of arguments with friends about, oh no, you can't just keep going in and seeing this stuff and liking it. It's just somehow it's entertainment that I actually could watch more than some other stuff, remarkably, in the cinemas. So, again, each to their own, and definitely not everyone's cup of tea. But Best Friends, certainly Volume 1 and Volume 2, as a complete package overall, yeah, I came away with a smile and a laugh and also possibly a headache because of some of the head fucking that goes on and the weirdness. But damn, it leaves a great impression on you, and that's fantastic. You know, I will be curious if this is the final cut or not before release in January, or that it will actually get some further tweaking here or there. But campers, that's it. Best Friends Volume 1 and 2. Yeah, go and actually watch them. Go and please, and I would love to hear what yourselves think about it, especially if you've watched The Room and The Disaster Artist and everything else surrounding Tommy Wiseau, who is always a lovely character and a lovely man to meet, to be fair, and Greg Sestero, always a great pleasure. Can't wait to see them again in London, frankly. So yeah, there you go. That's it. I'm going to have to stop waffling. Save for one extra thing I did get from, tonight. Basically, a friend of mine was going to an earlier showing, and they told me about the bobbleheads. That became, I know. I don't care. It's mine now. Johnny is mine. He's all mine. Fucking hell, I don't want to start being creepy, especially at 1 a.m. Anyway, yeah, I better go to bed now because I'm just going... But that's the Aftermath video, campers, of Best Friends Volume 2, with, well, obviously in an overall Volume 1 and 2 thoughts, actually. A mini-mare will be on lordofleisure.com at some point. Feel free to say whatever you like about my thoughts, whether or not they make any sense or not, I don't know. Hence the Aftermath. This is like shit that's just coming in my head afterwards. And I'm now going to go to bed. Until next time, campers, take it easy, and I will see you all very soon.